Hi, welcome to Beyond Limitations with Dawn Marie. Today I'm here with DJ Reggie. He was my daughter's choreographer in high school, and he has an amazing story that he would love to share with us, and his work inspires me.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I got a chance to work with your daughter, which was one of the highlights of my life. We had a good time together. We got to do salsa together, as you remember. Yeah. So yeah, explaining my story is interesting. It's just like any other person. You go through things in life that change it. And so I started out, I was born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey. My mom and dad have an interesting story too. My dad met my mom when she was very young. My father was actually not a good person at first. He was pretty bad. He did some bad things. Ended up in a penitentiary. Some parts of my life I thought he was there because we talked about it as at this age, and he wasn't, which I just found out. Yeah, the Super Bowl. I said, "Hey, Dad, I remember when we celebrated Christmas and I got my first bike." And he was like, "I didn't celebrate Christmas." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I remember you teaching me how to ride in the, parking lot of the school." And he was like, "That wasn't me." And I said, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, you guys, I told you I was on vacation." I was like, "He wasn't on vacation. He
Yeah.
was, they used it as he was away. He wasn't away. He's actually doing so." But someone taught me how to ride my bike. I don't remember who they were, but I remember running into the school when I first got it. That's all I remember. They were pushing me like, "Keep pedaling." I ran into the school. But I learned how to ride my bike, though. I did. But I didn't learn from my father, which is interesting. That tells you that in my memory, I equated my father to being there and he wasn't. And that's the story is basically, when I was younger, used to go off in my mind and go places like far. I used to watch television, used to see like different families and things like that and cartoons. And I used to look at those. And then my mom called it playing with my hands. I would imagine myself being someone else. And I actually used to imagine myself being a Caucasian person with blonde hair because that's what you used to see on the television. All a lot, rich people. You see Richie Rich or those different ones. Remember the cartoon? I used to imagine myself being them, like easy. But remember, I'm a black guy, so it's a little different than what I imagined. So I used to always go there in my mind. And then basically, my mom used to say, "Hey, don't do that around people because they're going to think something is wrong with you." Well, I would do it every time I got bored. So I must have had ADHD or ADD or something, but I use it as a power. I'm gonna tell you how I use it as a power. Basically, my cousins, I have a lot of girls that are cousins. And when we were in camp, there was a talent show that was coming up. And they said, "Hey, we're going to need you guys to do something for the talent show." And I was like, "Oh my goodness. I'm a little kid. I don't know what to do." And then one night, while we were young, they said Michael Jackson's about to perform Billie Jean. And this is where basically dance started. So I got this talent show coming up. Billie Jean is about to show up on television. This is how I think I remember. But my mom said probably I was younger when I seen Billie Jean and started doing stuff. But what inspired me was I never seen a person move like that. To me, it was like this guy is floating across the floor when he did the moonwalk. I was like, "What? How do you actually do that?" I'd never seen anything so amazing that a person can move that way. And then that was the beginning of dance for me. I seen a guy dance because usually girls dance, not guys. So I said, "Oh my goodness, I want to learn how to do that." So I used to act like Tim and doing his moves and things like that. Then the talent show came where my cousin taught us to dance. We were very terrified to perform in front of everybody, but my mom was always encouraging. And she did, I heard it to the grapevine, but she did the three great, what were they called? Raisins. I don't know if you remember the raisins back in the day. My mom got dressed as a raisin and she performed. And I looked at my mom and was like, "Wow, she's dancing." And I incorporated the dancing with Michael Jackson. Oh my goodness, she's doing the same thing. So we performed and everyone loved it. "Oh, that's amazing. You guys can dance." So then I started in my head dancing. I used to put dance stuff together all the time, like just literally listen to music and I can hear like the music and it was almost like colors. I would see colors and movement. So that's when I started like choreographing, like in my head. Never putting anything together, but just listening to music and getting these colors. Then going to school, I found out I was actually good at a lot of sports because of, I guess, dancing in my house. I don't know how it happened. I was on a swimming team, the only one in Trenton, not in Trenton High, in Trenton that won a state title. Only one. There's no other swimming team that was in a I think it was my middle school that won a swimming team. But before that, which I didn't even get to share, and I'm sorry I didn't share this, I was bullied a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot. From kindergarten, I guess because I was so interesting and I was always in my head, the kids had a problem with me. I got bullied from kindergarten all the way to eighth grade. So
Wow.
just imagine kindergarten, I dealt with Billy. They used to chase me home all the time. We had different gangs around that basically would pick on young ones. I even once, one day, uh, I got beat up by somebody for some reason. I forget what it was. This girl, it was a girl who beat me up, which is interesting. I always got beat up by girls. So, I don't know why. Girls always would beat me up. But this girl beat me up, and I went home, and the very next day, leaving, going to school or something, or leaving school, a high schooler jumped out of a car, grabbed me, beat me up, and threw me in front of a car. When they threw me in front of the car, I got picked up by the people who was in the car. They put me in the car and drove me to my babysitters. There, my parents came to get me, and my parents took me to go talk to this kid who basically beat me up. That's all I remember about that. But my uncle said one thing to me that was very interesting. He said, "Hey, listen, if you fight the first person, you won't have to fight anymore because they'll be scared of you." So this is where the guy who thought he'd make up all this dance stuff transitions to fighting. So I was actually a very good fighter. I used to practice at home all the time. And then anyone who would say something slick to me, I fought you. I didn't care who you were, girl, boy, parent, it doesn't matter. I was fighting everybody. But it wasn't like I started the fights. I was very shy. It was to myself. Like I said, I would play with my hands. I was always imagining stuff and playing with my hands to myself. But people used to bother me. And when they bothered me, I would protect myself and I would get into a fight. So the fighting stopped. I was on the swim team. We won that championship thing. Fighting stopped when I hit a girl. And my father said something to me because we were starting to learn to read the Bible during this time. So when I was younger, actually, my father, when he came back, he wanted to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And he was a Bible reader. So he studied the Bible very seriously. He said to me, research is the greatest thing. So always research stuff. So when he told me to research things, I started looking up everything, holidays, and all these different things, the truth. And I started to understand more and more things. But one day I was in I think I was in like eighth grade or seventh grade, and a girl who was part of the biggest gang at that time, they were called Lanka Lank. I think they're still around in Trent. I don't think so. They were called Lanka Lank. And she was sitting in my chair. And I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, listen, that's my seat." And she was like, "Get out of my face. You ain't gonna do anything." And I was like, "What?" And we actually were cool. I used to talk to everybody, Remember, I was shy, so when they talked to me, I would speak to them. And she basically told me, call my mom, all types of things. And I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, what is up with that?" And she pushed me. We pushed each other. She swang. I ducked and I punched her in the eye. I hit her so hard, this part, her eye, the socket got broke to the point her eye was bleeding, swollen. And I had to go home. Remember, she was part of the gang. They were looking for me, coming to get me. As they were coming to get me, I called my family to come get me. They couldn't. I didn't call my parents. I called my family. My cousins told them because I had a lot of cousins. Like I said, "Hey, come help me. I need some help." They couldn't come. So I maneuvered things which this story is longer, but I'm condensing it. I maneuvered things to get out of school and ran home. I didn't go to school for a whole month.
Wow.
My father said, "Yeah, I was gone for a while, long time, basically." And I hid. Basically, I didn't go to school. My parents would think I was going to school. I was actually going to a friend's house to hang out because I didn't want to go to school and deal with the kids and the gang and things. When I went back to school, I actually failed 8th grade.
Mm.
So I had to go to summer school. My father said to me, and he said, listen, you can't fight everybody. One day someone is going to take your life. He said, so what you need to do is not get any many more fights. That was the last time I ever got in a fight again. Didn't fight anyone, because the scriptures in the Bible says to show respect means to treat people the way you like to be treated. Very simple scripture. That's what Jesus said to everybody.
Yeah.
So I learned to treat people better. I actually went to summer school. I was so good in summer school. I was so smart. They were like, what? I got the top. I was in the top, I think, 3 in summer school. And it gave me a reward. I won a watch for being so smart.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. That's what I started to do. Treat people better. My dance career started when I went to high school. In high school, I was actually wanted to play football. Got into school, I only had 7 periods. In the 7 periods, you're supposed to have 8. Well, at 7 period, I thought it was time for me to go home. So I went home for a whole week. Go home. The security guard would be like, where are you going? I only have 7 periods. He's like, no, you don't. And I would show him. And he was like, how did you get there? I was like, I don't know. And I would go home. So finally, the counselor brought me in and said, hey, listen, you can't go home. You have to take another elective or something. And I was like, what can I take? And then on a period was the band. Now, this is what changed my whole life and perspective, how to treat people, how to perform, how to talk to people. Never give up.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to work through things with people who are different, who think different than you, and that to see talent in everything. Because we were in Trenton, the swimming thing didn't go anywhere. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to join the band. Well, only band members join 8th period. Only band, only those who can play instruments. I didn't even have an instrument, but now they put me in the band. So I go up there to meet with the teacher. His name was Mr. Markevich. I will never forget him. Mr. Markevich, and the band director was Mr. Markevich and Mr. I just forgot his name, but Mr. Something. It was another, but Mr. Markevich is the one I remember because he's the one that I approached and said, "Hey, listen, I have to join the band." That's what I said. I have to join the band because I have to have an 8th period. He said, "Well, what instrument would you like to play?" And I said, can I play drums? He goes, well, you have lips for a trumpet. My lips? He's trying to say, I got some big lips. I was like, oh, that's messed up. So he handed me the mouthpiece to the trumpet. So
Mm-hmm.
here it is for you. Take the mic, the piece. And he said, play with this to music for a week. So literally I took this mouthpiece. I'm like, what? So I used to make sounds with it, with music, and every song come on, I would play with it with this mouthpiece. Finally, after a week, the very next week, he handed me the trumpet. I can play. I learned how to play the trumpet in 1 month. I was actually first string. I learned all my scales in weeks. So literally I was really good at the band. Well, this band was so well known, which I didn't know about. They've done Pepsi commercials. They performed in Madison Square Garden, all these different areas. And they're like, okay, you're going to be part of the band. The first thing you're going to do is we're going to do parades. So I started doing parades with them. But what happened was the choreographer for the band took interest in me. When they started dancing, you ever seen drum line? And the kid was good at drums, and he would look at something and go, he couldn't read music, which I could read a little bit, but he could look at what they were doing and do it and hear it. I was the exact same. When it came to the dance moves for the band, I learned it quick, extremely quickly, because I had been always dancing in my head. So I would do the moves and dance and do all the stuff and learn it. And I'll be sitting on the side and they'd be like, we're not done. Do you know the moves? I go, yeah, I got them. He goes, what? And then they'll do the moves and I'll do them just like them. Like, even like the girls. I can move like the girls and they all squat down to do the stuff and I would do it just like them. Didn't think anything of it. We do a show in, I think it was near the Meadowlands. We had to perform for the Meadowlands. It was a battle of the bands. We do a show there. We performed on the floor with the battle of bands. That means all the college teams, Hampton University, Grambling University, Virginia State, all these different bands, HBCUs, perform on the floor. Well, Trenton High, the Trenton Tornadoes got to perform on the floor. We perform on the floor. Then they have a party for us. And this is where I first started dancing. They had a they were having a dance off, and they were like, "Dance, Reggie." And I run out there and I start dancing, just doing moves. And they were blown away. They were just like, "Yo, you can really dance." And I go, "Nah, just, you know." And they go, "No, no, no. You move better than everyone else." I was like, "No, no, no. I'm just, going about my business. Just do it." Well, I go to Madison Square Garden. We're performing for their team, the Knicks, New York Knicks. I go on the floor. I always keep my hat like this. This is why we're hats too. I do this so I didn't have to see anyone. But during the time for preparing for band, I bit my lip, if you can see here, and hurt myself. So then I had to turn my hat to the side so I can see. But I'm performing at Madison Square Garden. My hat is low. And they go, "Reggie." I go, "What?" "Spike Lee is looking at you." And I go, "What?" They go, "Yeah, look." Right in front of me, Spike Lee is pointing to me, going, "Do you see him dancing?" And I was like, and I waved at him. He was like, "Hey, what's going on? You killing?" He was like, "You're killing it." I was like, "What?" And that's what changed it. I was like, "What? I can actually really move. I didn't know I could move that well where people are noticing me doing it." So then they say, "Hey, let's make a dance and get a group together and do some talent shows." And I started doing that. I started doing talent shows, making dances with the choreographer that was on the band. That turned into me creating my first dance group is with my sister, my brother, and two friends. We would call Five United. I made up the dance moves to So For Real. My love. Yeah, we did that. Performed for a talent show that was supposed to perform for the Apollo show. We didn't get it. We did do well. They said we were good, but we didn't get too far. But the thing was is that I never stopped dancing. Next thing that happened was I got a job at Sesame Place. And this went another different area. I worked in ops, which was rides and working with children. Mm-hmm. And working with the kids, I was actually good at because I can play with them. Like literally, people would bring their babies and leave them with me. I'm talking about they would go, "Here's my baby, play with my kid." They would go and do stuff, and I was like, "This is your kid. Don't leave your kid with me." I was a young man, playing with these kids, bunch of kids. I'm talking about a lot of them having fun, laughing. They were writing about me inside. You can get like, you can say reviews on how things were. How did you like the part? Well, my name, they kept putting my name in. Reggie is amazing. I used to leave there with $100 to close to $200 every day, which were not supposed to get tips, but they kept throwing money at me. Like the families were like, "Here's $20, here's 50, here's $100," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no," and they go, "No," and they'll throw it to me and run away. So I literally would leave with money that they were giving me for playing with their kids, and I knew how to actually speak to people in a way to make them move, to do things like kids, especially and adults, and be loving to them. When it was on rides, they would always say, "Get Reggie." Reggie would come. I would work with them on rides and things. And one day I got to do the parade, which is like now the biggest thing out. Um, it was called the Rock Around the Block Parade. I don't know if it was the Rock Around the Block. I think I was part of the first Rock Around the Block parade, but there was a parade before that. What happened was ops would grab the floats and pull the floats through the parade. That was our job. Well, me in my mind, I can't stand still. So as I was pulling the floats, I was watching the dancers. And as they were dancing, I'm looking, I go, "I can do that." So I didn't want to look, so I would put the the parade float, I would stop it, and then when they danced, I did the exact moves. Everything they did, I did. Literally the turns and singing. This is the first time I ever did the parade. Never did it before. Singing, performing, doing all the stuff with them, having fun, all that. At the end of the parade, I'm done. I was like, "That was awesome." I go back to my job. As I'm in the office of the ops, they get a call. "Reggie Williams, you need to report to entertainment office." I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I'm like, "What did I do?" I'm thinking, did I pull a float and a kid got ran over? I'm like almost in tears because I'm like, did I run a kid over? Did a parent get something happen? Because you actually, some of the floats, the kids were right on. They would sit on them. And when you pull them, the kids would be on them. So basically, I go to this office, and this is where I meet my mama. I call her my mom. Her name was Diane. Diane Benedict. That was her. It's not her name anymore. She got married. It's a different name. It was Diane Bennett. That's how I remember her. Diane Benedict. And I go into the room and I sit with this woman, and she sits in front of me, very professional. And I'm sitting there like, is everything okay? And she's just sitting there like, she goes, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to be completely honest, and which I am, because I told you, treat people the way you like to be treated. She goes, okay, so, and she said, don't worry, no one's going to get in trouble, but we just really need to know. She goes, who taught you the dance for the parade? And I said, no one. I said, no one taught me. I said, I just looked at what they were doing and did it. She goes like this, and her head literally goes down. She goes, okay. She goes, no one taught you? I'm like, yeah, no one taught me. I watched them do it, and I did it. And she goes, oh my, she's like, oh my God. She goes, wait, okay. She goes, you watched their moves and did their moves? I go, yes, I didn't. I said, did I do something wrong? She goes, oh my God. No. She goes, oh my God. She goes, no one taught you. You just watched them, looked at them, and did. I said, yes, I did. That's all I did was look at them move and copy their movements. She goes, oh my God. She goes, we get training for months. We get couple months of training to learn those dance moves. And I learned it in seconds. And I was doing it. So she's like, no way. Yeah. I said, that was, and the funny part was, I said it wasn't hard. She's like, Reggie, she goes, the choreographer who makes the dance for them makes choreography for Pepsi. I was like, so some of the dances you see on Pepsi commercials, she made that for Sesame. She was doing like stuff for Sesame in different parts and stuff. And I was like, what? I go, I learned that. I just looked. She goes, okay, here's the thing. She goes, okay, you're going to have to leave that job and come work for us. And I was making $5.90. I remember $5.90. Remember? And she was like, I said, I'm not leaving my job. How much am I gonna make here? And she was like, six something. And I was like, $6? I said, I'm done. I quit ops and literally went to go work for entertainment for Sesame Place. And I was the guy that literally could not be in costume. They did not want me in costume. They wanted me to be seen because I can do stuff, dance and all this different stuff. And that's when I was starting to do a lot of stuff in dance there to the point where actually the pre-shows that they do for Sesame Place, I started a lot of. They used to always just have a show and they used to have like, talking on the mic. Which it wasn't talking to mic, it was like a recording. They record something saying, in a couple minutes, the show will begin. Well, the pre-shows that they're doing now, I started it. What happened was one day at Sesame Place, Big Bird was on stage and the CD that they always play started to skip. They gave me a mic and said, Reggie, could you go out there and entertain the people? Literally a theater full of people, full. And I walk out there and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, what am I supposed to, they just do something. Cause I used to do stuff with the kid on the parade route. I used to like play with them and stuff. So they said, Reggie, just do something. And I'm like, okay. I grab the mic and I go, if you're happy and but clap your hands. And everybody clap, clap. And I was like, oh, if you're happy and but clap your hands. And I started doing this show and just made it up. So then Diane says, we need you to do that. You should do that every show. Okay. So every show, I go out with something new, literally, and perform for thousands of people inside this theater. Well, hundreds probably, but it was a lot because it was packed with people from New York and all this. Then I had to come up with something new because I couldn't do Happening You Know It every single time. So what I started doing is, have you ever heard that song? When I say, you say, ah. One day I'm going to work and I'm like, Mom, I need to come up with something new. And as we're riding along, I'm listening, that song comes on and I'm listening, I go, when I say big, you say bird. Big, bird, big, bird. When I say cookie, you say monster, monster, cookie. And my mom was like, that sounds cool. And that started the chants that I started to do for everything. So literally went on the stage and I tried it. And I said, everybody clap your hands like this. And I said, when I say big, you say bird, big. And they, bird, big, bird. When I say Elmo, you say Zoe, Elmo, Zoe. And I was like, and then that started me doing more and more shows at Sesame Place. They wanted me to go in front, do pre-show. And this is where I meet David Jack, who's a kid singing star. And he basically does songs for children. He travels around, and he's the one I actually still work with for Hip Hop Assemblies. He's the one that gave me the idea of Hip Hop Assembly. He basically goes, "Hey," they say go do his show for him, go help him with his show because they had no one else. One day I go to a show. This is actually the first time I do this show, and I'm doing the pre-show that I do for Big Bird Theater. And he's like, "Who's out there getting my crowd going?" Like the crowd's going crazy. I finished the show. He's like, "Yo, that's my show. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
To the point the crowd is like, "What? Put Reggie back up there." They don't even want to hear him. So now he stops me from doing the pre-show of his show. He's like, "Don't do it because you're just too good for it. It just messes me up." So then I started doing his character. He used to have like a dinosaur he used to do the dinosaur dip. I used to dance for him and do the dinosaur dip. Then he made a show for Sesame with Honker, and I choreographed the dance for Honker to do in his show, which was, I didn't even think how big it was at that time. I just did it. It was nothing. And literally made this choreography for a show that he was doing, and the show was amazing. From there, a lady comes and she goes, "Hey, I would like for you to come work for me. Do you do gymnastics?" And I go, "I can flip." And I showed her I can flip. And I can do handstands. I used to do all that stuff. She hired me for the little gym, which I used to teach the little gym gymnastics to kids. So there's another reason why I'm always with kids. So I started teaching at this little gym, and there was three locations, one in Pennsylvania, one in New Jersey. I had 3 jobs. I was working at the little gym, Sesame Place, and Sunglass Hut. So
Wow.
I was always busy working, running, 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 running. Finally, this lady comes and goes, "Hey, I was working with her son. Her son had really bad, almost like autism a little bit. He was dealing with things, but he would only play with me, only me, no one else. No one else could work with him. So literally, I had a private class with this kid." And I'm like, "Oh goodness!" Like every time I come in, they were like, "Reggie, you got to work with." They were called the Rubens. I forget what his name. It was called the Rubens though, and I used to help him and play with him. His mom goes, "Hey, listen, I think you need to come work for me. I'm doing an after-school program. I would need you to do, work with kids." And I was like, "How much do you pay?" It's always, it's always the money.
Yeah.
Always the money. Look at the straight. Get the money done. There's a lot more to this story, but I like to keep it short. But I went from being at the gym, teaching at the little gym, to working for a school called SAFE, School Age Fund and Enrichment. I worked there being a staff member to a site supervisor, which I was in charge of all the activities for this after school program. Cooking, I will teach kids how to do cooking. And then I started teaching them dance. At the time, I just thought I was just doing what you normally do. Well, these kids were getting really good at dance. They were getting so good that parents started saying, "Hey, listen, you need to teach adults." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So then I started working at night teaching adults. So I'm teaching kids during the day, being with the kids, and then at night, like once a week, I had like a class with parents, teaching them dance and teach them choreography, all this different stuff. Don't forget, still working at, I had to leave the little gym, but I was still working at Sesame Place and Sunglass Hut. So those are still in the air. I was always doing something. From there, teaching dance, Sesame said, after I was there for like 5 years, they said, "You need to go to Los Angeles." And I'm like, "What?" They go, "Yeah. So we're going to make you a tape for an audition because we think you really have the talent to perform at a level as become famous." They really was like, "You need to be famous. Reggie, this Sesame Place this is not it. You have bigger things in mind." So I was like, I don't, and even the guy in charge of entertainment, his name was Michael Joyce. He met with me and he said, "Hey, Reggie, what do you want to do in the future?" And I said, "I want your job." Right to his face. "I want your job. I have ideas to make entertainment better here. I think it should be done a certain way." I said, "We can perform better." And so he was like, "Okay." So he made me a tape. And what he did was he wanted me to perform for overseas people who were coming from Asia. So we're talking about China, basically. China was coming to look at Sesame Place because Sesame Place was the only amusement park for kids that had the characters, Elmo, Big Bird, and all those in the United States,
Mhm.
which I didn't know until I was there during that time. They were like, "This is the only one." So all like famous people If you like Sesame Street, you will come. Biggie Smalls walked up the street. I just missed him. I met Lauryn Hill, models, actors, actresses, you name it, we met him. Even the owner of Anheuser-Busch knew me. I didn't know him. He knew me. He said hello to me. He said my name. He said, hello, Reggie. And I went, hi, and got my lunch and went to go sit down. They were like, Reggie. That was the owner of Anheuser-Busch. I was like, I don't know him. I don't hang out with him. And they were like, he knew your name. I was like, okay. He didn't say anything to me. He just said hi. I didn't know I was supposed to, go to him and do. What was I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. I'll just be myself. So yeah. So basically, China's coming. They need a show to be put together, a nice pre-show. They want me to do outside. I had like some performances thing. I had to do the parade and all these other things. And they were like, Reggie, we want you to do your pre-show so they can see it because they want to add that to the show. Do you understand that? I did a pre-show for China so that they can prepare pre-shows for the future, for Sesame being built in somewhere in China or Japan, somewhere. And so I'm like, what am I gonna do? I got, when I say big, you say bird is big. Everybody loves it. So my brother raps. He's really good. And I said, hey, listen, can you make a rap for me? And he goes, yeah, I'll make a rap for you. He wrote this rap and I practiced it for like literally weeks. Finally, I get there. The rap goes, Sesame Place is the place to be when you watch the Allen Show with Bert and Ernie, when you sing Rubber Ducky. You're the one eating cookies with Cookie, having fun. It's not time to go finish watching the show. Then after the show, you can tickle Elmo, so spread the word. Tell them what you heard. Don't forget Perry Dawn, Sesame Breast, and Big Bird. Hocker Horn with Hocker. Get saved by Super Grover. You could stay. Being a rock around the block parade. Everybody, clap your hands. And so I did this performance in front of these big wigs for building this Sesame. I even flipped in front of them. They made the video tape. They were like, all right, Reggie, this is it for you. And I'm like, this is it. They literally got rid of me. It wasn't like I wanted to leave. They were saying, you need to go to Los Angeles. They were pushing me out the door. So yeah, that was my last time working at Sesame Place, and I started working for the after school program. I didn't go to Sesame to Los Angeles for the reason that I did have a call for it, but I didn't want to leave my family. And being away from family is very, I wouldn't be able to do that. My family is very important. And there are a lot of people who went to be famous and things didn't work out. I went to California. I seen the street where there's tons of people who are homeless. And I was like, I did not want to experience that at all. Remember, I'm a Bible reader and I'm always thinking of principles at all times. Will that work out for me? So reading the scriptures, I was like, I don't know about that. That's not going to work. So I stayed here and started doing dance, teaching at the after school program. It got big too. We had like 5 kids to now I have like 30 kids and this in this after school program, just teaching dance. And they were like, I should have had a dance school. That's how, crazy it was. So I'm doing all this with these kids, teaching them. And then the person who I was working for, Marcy, couldn't afford me because I was making more than everyone else, but I was doing a lot more. So it came to the point where she got in trouble for some things and her company went down. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was married. I was married, have a wife now. And what do I do with my life? One day I'm at dinner. I go, hey, I need to really do something where I need a business or something. And I was sitting there with somebody and they said, what does RSVP stand for? And I was like, that's it. Oh my goodness. S'il vous plaît. Entertainment. We're going to say it means Reggie, if you please, entertain me. Yeah, we're going with that. We're going with that. We're doing that. As the time I start my business, I think it was probably in the middle or close to the beginning of my business, or as I was working with David or something, someone came to me and said, hey, Bucks County Technical High School is looking for a choreographer. And I'm like, okay, what do they need? They said they need somebody to come in and do dance. And I was like, all right. This is the same time I was close to where I'm starting my own business. So I'm like, oh, okay, then I'm going to need some money. So I'll just do that as extra. But my business is going to do, I'm a DJ, do mitzvahs, events, kids shows, and things like that. and try to grow up an entertainment company. I go to tech and they're saying we have a couple kids that can dance. I walk in and I watch these. I said, let me audition them. Let me see what they can do. As I'm auditioning them, I'm looking at them like, yeah, that's not my dancing. I was like, I said, that's okay. It's not bad. I said, we're going to change everything. And they were like, what? So Miss Hubler, it wasn't Miss Hubler before, it was Miss Gallo when I met her. It's Miss Hubler now. I don't know if she's still there. She might be. I don't know. Miss Hubler, I sat with her and I said, hey, listen, we're going to do something different with this team. I said, when I was in high school, I performed at all these places, Mercer Square Garden, New York. We were doing stuff, games and stuff. I said, we should do the same thing with the dance team. She was like, how are we going to do that? I go, we're going to start with trying to perform for the Sixers. And she was like, huh? She's like, Reggie, there's no way. I go, no, don't think like that. Just think, let's see how we can do it. Let's try to figure it out. Because I was like, what are the kids doing? I mean, why are we dancing? We're just dancing here at the gym. That's nothing. That goes nowhere. So I was like, we need to do something that has an incentive for the kids to look forward to, that they can go, oh, we're preparing for this. She's like, okay, I'll work it out. So I start working these kids, literally cleaning them, getting their moves together. We used to run, jumping jacks, stretch, everything. I want them to be able to last 3 minutes for a performance because that's how long a song is. So if we were to do anything, we can do, anything basically because they have the stamina to do it. I was working these kids, dancing, making sure they learn this is how hip hop moves, make sure your body moves like this, ramming it into them. We went from 5 kids the first year to 10 to 15 to 20 to 30.
Wow.
To when I left, it was 50 kids on the dance team at Tech. 50. We performed for the Sixers halftime. We performed for the Flyers a couple times, literally. We performed at the Eagles. We performed for Philly for the baseball games. We were so good they started having us do stuff for the school. Now, like you have to perform for the flag, flag football, and we're out there dancing. And now we're doing their, they had like every time they would do like a prep rally, stuff like that, they wanted the dance team to perform. I created stuff for them. I created a logo on their shirt. They used to wear these shirts. I had people draw and put stuff together for them, made up chants for them. PCTHS. That's where it came from. Me. BTS. PCTHS. It came from Trenton High School. THSTCHS. Same chant, same movement. I was just trying to bring something to the kids to make them grow bigger and bigger. They were excited. Like these kids would come to dance. If you would see their faces when they came, they were exhausted, tired, dealing with stuff. We had a kid I'll never forget on the team. She had a immune a disorder. It was really bad. She would come, she would look purple to me, but I would make her work out just like everyone else. I didn't know she was really sick. So I'd be like, push-ups, sit-ups, let's go, 100. And she would do it all. And she'd be like, oh, I'm so tired. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Let's go. Come to find out, she was dying. She was dying. She did not want to she did not want to miss dance. She didn't. She came to school to go to dance. The most craziest thing I've ever, and when she passed, because she got to graduate, they actually had something for her where she graduated earlier than everyone else. But she passed, and when she passed, I went to her mother and said, I'm so sorry. I did not know. She goes, no, Reggie, you don't understand. She loved you. She loved being around you. She said if she could spend all day, she would do it. And she died. I forget what year it was, but she was on the dance team and did a lot of great things with us. Performed at the Sixer Stadium halftime, which was really cool. A beautiful kid. And then, I think that was right before your daughter came to tech and everything. So went through tech. The reason I lost tech job which is so interesting. I wanted to grow more. I'm always thinking bigger. So I found out that the home schools for tech were Council Rock, Conwell Egan, Pennsbury High School, and Truman. I knew those schools, and they heard about our dance team, and they were like, "I would love to be a part." They wanted to be part of it, and it was part of like an after-school program. So to me, I'm thinking, "Hey, y'all can come. Just let your parents know. Get in touch with it. Come." So I talked to the person who was in charge this time. It wasn't Miss Gallo. Is Miss I forget her name. I forget her name. I'm sorry because we fell out, so I don't remember as much. I was closer to Miss Gallo than this other teacher, but these kids wanted to come and see the dance team. I told her they're coming. I said, hey, listen, if you can do something about that, let them in so they can see it because they might want to have me come to Truman and help them out a little bit. When they came to the school, the principal kicked them out. I don't know, I forget the guy's name, the big guy, black hair, forget his name. He kicked them out and said that they cannot come because this is just for the tech team, which was untrue. So the tech team can do some of the other after school programs that the schools offer. They can do it too. They can come here, but he didn't want that. He was like, no, I don't want them coming here. I want them causing issues and troubles. They would never cause issues. I never caused any issues with any of the kids. I was there. I was like, if they come here, that might build the relationships of the schools and maybe y'all get along a little bit better, you know? So what happened is when they kicked them out, one of the moms of the daughter got very upset and called the Pennsylvania, basically of all the regions of all the schools. She didn't call just this school; she called all of them and said, "This guy Reggie, as said my kids can come," and the principal kicked them out. So they basically got mad at me and we're like, hey, listen, and this is what he said to me. He said, hey, listen, because I was DJing also their proms and stuff like that. He's like, hey, there's a lot of money I can give to you right now. He goes, you need to really rethink what you're doing. And I was like, what? I said, you think I'm doing this for I was like, had nothing to do with the money. I was thinking about the kids. I'm always concerned about the kids. The kids want to learn that will get them out of doing bad stuff. They were here dancing, having a good time. Your daughter can attest to it. Being together was awesome. Well, what happened was I posted something on Instagram. Wasn't bad. I just said I would like to be treated kinder by the educational department in Pennsylvania. That's all I said. Kindness. Somehow someone told that I posted it, and it was posted like a long time. It was like already started working again, doing dance and stuff. And they were like, oh, we gotta let you go because you posted that. And I was like, I didn't say anything bad. I said, can we be treated kindly? And they were like, no, you got to take that down. You know what? Just forget it. You can't come back. So that's how I lost my job. I'm working for Bus County Technical High School, and that hurt because my sister was still teaching there, which I got her a job there. I was working with kids that were like my family. They were my family. I talked to these kids. They were like my children. I was with them since they were in, freshmen to some of them graduating, all that stuff. So we got out of there. We got out of that. And I started basically focusing on RSVP, my company, and doing events for children. And that's when David Jack came to me and said, hey, you should do hip hop assemblies for children. And I was like, what? And we started basically doing an assembly for kids. It's one of the top assemblies in the East Coast right now. I know it is because the kids, every show I do it, they're like, show is amazing. It teaches them respect, trustworthiness, responsibility, fairness, and caring. TRRFC. What we do is we go in and we dance with them and teach them how to be good people at the same time. But people forget that assembly is not just for the kids, it's for the teachers too. And it's trying to change the thought process and how we treat each other and not looking at everything as hopeless. And that's what some people look at, like when you're dealing with a whole lot of stuff. And if you notice through my story, there's been ups and downs and get out of here and move to here to go to this place. And everywhere I went, always looked for hope, something bigger, something better, And that's how I always have lived my life with everything. So when it came to this assembly and the growth of my company, it was always trying to say, how can I do better? What can I do better? And like I said, in that whole story of dance, there's more stuff that happened between it, but it was always Bible principles that helped me to go, hey, don't look at it as being bad. Sometimes things go wrong, things happen that are bad, but there's a better future. You can always see a better future ahead if you look for it. And sometimes you may have to create that future for yourself. It may be a small hope, but it's still a hope, you know? So do I miss all the things that I did? I do. Maybe my role will be somewhere else. Could have been somewhere else, but I'm happy where I am. You know what I mean? I was supposed to be famous, remember?
Yeah.
They wanted me to be famous. I'm not famous in that sense of famous, but I'm happy. I'm successful. And the thing is I I go by a scripture. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 9. I think it's verses 19 to 23. And it talks about how Paul said was something to all people. He was things to all people. He would change himself to be something so that they will learn something. That's what I do. If I have to adapt, I will adapt. I will change myself to be something else just to gain something or someone or something, you know what I mean? So that's what I've always done in my life is that don't look at, all this stuff that is going around and say, this is hopeless. I can't do this. We have to keep working hard and things will get better in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Not what you think you may be. You may want to be rich. You may want to be famous. But rich and fame right now, if you look at it, it's not going well for a lot of people. They're not doing well. It's getting pretty bad out there. You know, all the rich people and famous people you think has all the money, all the stuff, and they're having the worst time. So
I
I
think
don't want to be like that. Yeah.
you're baking on others is even bigger than having all the money from being rich. That impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And an imperfect person like me, I don't know if I can handle that big of responsibility, you know? So I try to do what I can in my little circle that I have. Maybe it's a big circle, but in this circle, I try to do my best.
We're
So
all
yeah.
imperfect though.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that if we can find a way to think about others instead of ourselves. Acts 20:35, more happiness in giving.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just giving of our things, of, food. It's not just that. It's giving of your time, not just that. It's giving of yourself. How much of yourself can you give? And sometimes you might not receive anything back, but you're just happy to give something that people can experience and feel within themselves to say, that was fun. That's a little, I had a good time. I love that. That was very enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what, is something special about you is that you are actually trying to give everybody a little bit of more light than what they're used to. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are dealing with some stuff and hardships. So, but I appreciate this. I hope I didn't talk too much. I probably talked for an hour.
Not too long at all. But I
Yeah.
your impact, just on Bree, my daughter, was in such a dark place.
Yeah.
And your dance brought her so much light, and she was able to work through so much of the darkness that she had in her just from what you do.
Yeah. And I appreciate the encouragement. That was really nice of you to say. It's just like I said, I'm a very imperfect guy. I try my best. I try to remember, like I said, to treat people because remember I used to fight
Mm-hmm.
and fighting didn't work.
Yeah.
Fighting, you know what I mean, doesn't change anything. All
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing is hurting somebody and they're hurting me. And if I didn't get enough hurt, I want to hurt more. And if they didn't get enough hurt, they want to hurt more. So it's like playing tennis. You just
Right.
keep playing, you keep going, and the game will stop. And I say this to everybody. When you stop playing, you put the racket down and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't throw things, don't hit each other, don't get upset, don't throw words. Be kind.
Right.
Hey, listen, let's talk about it. Let's sit down. What is going on? What can we work through together? What did I do to you to make you feel this way? How can I change that perception that you have of me? Because sometimes you can't even change it. Some people just dislike you just to dislike you.
Mm-hmm.
If people can dislike you because of your color and they never met you, that tells you right there It's just something that they're dealing with within themselves that is difficult for them to cope with.
Right.
So they like, I got to lash out on something. I got to get on something. And, you know, because they're unhappy with, you know, where they are
Yep.
or unsuccessful, you know, with what they're doing. So they say, you know what? I'm gonna take it out on this person. I'm gonna take it out on that person. And that's how I look at everything. I'm not like that. I'm not never, you can ask my wife. I'm not the type that gets unhappy quickly. It
Right.
takes a whole lot.
Yeah.
I like to have fun,
Now,
as much fun as possible.
if anybody wanted to reach out to you to possibly
Mhm.
you, where would they find you? What would be the best contact information?
So basically, my phone number, you can call me, is okay. 609 Or, you know, you can email me at reggietech@hotmail.com, which is Reggie, REGGIETEC at hotmail.com. So not tech without the H. So reggietech@hotmail.com. You can email me, you can text me. I have a business number, 215-808-7787. It's an interesting number because it's 808, like an 808 drum.
Yeah.
7787 RSVP. So it's 215-808 drum, 808 RSVP. Yeah.
And if they wanted to support your business, do you have a website?
Yes. DJReggie.com or RSVP Entertainment.com. I own both of them. So yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Hopefully I can do this again. That'll be all. That was awesome. I feel like it was a therapy session. I never looked at how much stuff I went through. There's so much more I didn't even share, but I shared a lot, and I thank you for this opportunity to be able to share. I appreciate it. Mhm.